Hey, A&P the bass player here. Today I'm going to show you how to do YouTube bass covers. This is probably going to end up being a super long video because we're going to get really detailed, but I'm going to show you everything you need to know, from the gear you need, to how to use the software, to how to record yourself, and then put it all together at the end. Right now you're watching the Mac version, so go ahead and click up at the little thing if you need the PC version. So really the trick to getting the best audio and video quality is to record them separately and then combine them in video editing software. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to do that, starting with the gear that you're going to need to be able to pull this off. You'll need your bass, obviously, a 1/4-inch cable, a camera, whether that be a DSLR or even a GoPro or just your phone, a tripod that will suit your camera, an audio interface, a computer, a set of good headphones, audio recording software, and also video editing software. All right, that probably feels like a ton of stuff and your wallet is probably crying right now, but I'm gonna show you a couple of budget options, including some free software, to show you that you don't have to break the bank to do this well. Now, assuming that you already have a computer and a bass, the next most expensive piece of gear is going to be the camera, but chances are you probably already have something that'll do the trick, your phone. A lot of modern phone cameras are capable of producing 4K images, which is really high resolution, but the limitation that they have is that the microphones are not great for recording music, and they're especially bad for recording bass. And that's where you need an audio interface. This is going to convert your guitar's signal into something that the computer can use and will deliver extremely high quality audio. Now, I've been using this Focusrite Scarlett for a couple of years. I really like this thing. It's only, $100 or so. You can also use like a Behringer UM2, which are really cheap and good. I saw one come up on the used market just locally here for like $30, so you can get them pretty cheap too. Another option you have is if you don't have a computer but you do have an iPad, the iRig is a good option. It basically does the same thing but for mobile devices. I'll have links down in the description for all the gear I used. None of them are like affiliate links or anything, so I don't make a dime if you click on them and you use them. They're just there for your benefit. If you do want to support me though, I do have a merch store and a Patreon, but let's get back to the video. Now, as far as actually recording the audio, you have a lot of freedom over how you do that. A lot of these audio interfaces offer you both an XLR jack as well as a 1/4-inch jack, so you can mic up your bass cabinet, or you can take the DI signal from the back of the amp or through a DI pedal or directly out of your pedal board. For today though, I'm just going to plug my bass directly into the 1/4-inch jack here, and we'll be controlling all of our tone through software that is free. There was a time where software emulation for bass and guitar was not great, but that time has long since passed. I've been able to get great sounds out of just using, Garageband. If you don't love the stock presets there, I also make presets as part of my How to Sound Like series. So tons of options to get good sounds out of just plugging your bass directly into this and then using software. As far as software to use, GarageBand is just free on a Mac, and it's actually really fantastic for what it is, and you can get great sounds out of it. Let's jump into GarageBand here and let's talk about how to set up your project so that it's ready to record. First, you want to choose a new project and just choose Empty Project. And then you'll get this window here where it'll let you select what kind of audio you want to record, whether you're recording using a microphone, or if you are going to do like I'm going to do and just connect your guitar directly to your interface, which you should have plugged in at this point. Down here, your input is really important. I know specifically on the Scarlett Solo, you have a 1 and a 2. You just make sure that you choose the correct one for which input you want to record from. And then leave this box checked here. You definitely want to hear my instrument as I play and record. If the Scarlett doesn't show up here just automatically, and it should because this stuff is just plug and play and Apple actually really does make it easy, you can click on this and choose your output and input device as the Scarlett Solo. So we are going to be plugging our bass directly into here, as well as monitoring from the headphone jack on this thing. All of your computer audio is going to be routed back to there. We'll go ahead and click Create. And it'll give you a default on this just Brit and clean guitar patch, which is not what we want for bass. So over here on the left side, we go clean bass, and the one that I usually start with is either the 60s combo or the big stack. Again, I make patches as a part of my How to Sound Like series, so you can get those on my Patreon if you want to try those out. But most of these default presets are actually pretty good, so just leave it at that. The other thing that you're going to want to do is set your input gain on your interface. So what I do is play with one hand and then wait for this ring. It'll go red as you're getting too much, and then back it off. The last thing you want to do is have your audio clipping, which means that the audio from your bass is hitting the interface too hard. Therefore, it hits a ceiling and it sounds really, really bad. So your bass track is now more or less ready to go. You can just plug your bass in and start playing and make sure that everything sounds okay. The other thing you're going to need in your project is the song that you're going to record to. Now, if you don't already have an MP3 of the audio you're going to record, I find that getting them off of YouTube is really easy. You just find the video that you want to steal it from and then just add pp to the URL, hit enter, it'll take you to this website where you can download the MP3. Don't download the MP4 unless you also want the video though. So just this MP3 here, go to this tab, hit download, and then from your downloads folder, you can just drag it into your project like so. So at this point, your project is ready to go. You'll want to just make sure that your levels are where they need to be, and you can do that by adjusting these sliders here. Now, before you actually go and try and get a final recording, what I would recommend doing is just recording yourself and listening to it back so that you can practice. You don't want to practice until you get it right. You want to practice until you never get it wrong. Putting your stuff on YouTube will mean that you want to just put your best work out there, so put the time into it to make sure that you get it right. So not only will you end up with a better final product, but you'll end up with fewer takes on your video, which will save you time in the long run, as well as keep your file sizes smaller and more manageable. Okay, so now that our audio is taken care of, let's talk about video. The single biggest factor in getting a good image for your video is not the camera, it's your lighting. Natural daylight is some of the best quality light you can get, so you'll always want to film in front of a window if you can. So right now, I'm filming this in my kind of dimly lit apartment, but it's middle of the day. It's a really cloudy, overcast day, but because I've got such a big window here, I'm actually getting decent light. I'm also using this light up here to give myself just a little bit of color interest. You can see what happens to my video quality if I stand in front of a window. It looks terrible, but if I just turn around, wow, much better. If you do have to shoot at nighttime though, I recommend getting a lamp. Even just a desk lamp will help quite a lot, getting more light on you and therefore more light into the camera sensor. One problem you may run into if you do that is you end up with really harsh light. So you'll have really bright on one side and then really dark on the other side. And what you can do is throw a white t-shirt over your lamp, and that will sort of diffuse the light by effectively making it a bigger source. There's lots of lighting tutorials up on YouTube. You can check them out here. You can also buy specific LED lights for this purpose. The lights I use are just some cheap $40 USB lights. I'll have those linked down below if you want to check those out. They're okay. The bottom line is that daylight is the best quality light, so strive for that if at all possible. Now, if you happen to be filming on an iPhone, I recommend switching this over to 4K at 24 frames per second. I find that produces the best quality image. Though one small note on frame rates, and this will happen regardless of whether you use Android or iPhone, is a lot of phones use something called a variable frame rate. And this is just the dumbest thing, and I don't know why there isn't a setting to just change it to a constant frame rate. But recording your audio separately will mean that your video may be slightly longer or shorter than the audio because the frame rate isn't constant. There is a free program called Handbrake, and you can run your video footage through that to basically smooth it out to a constant frame rate. It's an extra step. It's really annoying. There's no setting on any phone that I have ever seen that will let you just change it to a constant frame rate. So it's just one thing to keep in mind if you end up filming on a phone. So at this point, all that's left to do is to hit record. I like to start my video camera first and then start the audio recording in Garageband. And then you can also leave yourself a measure at the beginning to give yourself a little buffer. One step that I forgot back in the Garageband project is to figure out the tempo of the song you're recording to and then set the project to that before you import the audio. And that will allow you to use the metronome if you like, but it also gives you the ability to do a count in, which is really helpful if the bass starts right on beat 1 of the song. Okay, so now that I've got a take that I am happy with, I'm gonna make a couple of adjustments to this project before I export it. The big thing being that I'm not touching the master volume, that's still at 0. I've also not touched the volume on my bass, it's still at 0, but I have turned the Green Day track way down. One of the mistakes that I made early on was mixing my bass to make it sound like it was part of the track, and that's not really the point of doing these cover videos. You want your bass to be really, really obvious, so I mix my bass quite a bit louder than I would normally. The track is going to be kind of subdued. It's not going to have like that punch you in the face energy, but it's going to be really obvious what my bass playing is doing, and that's really the point of doing cover videos. Another thing that some people recommend doing is adjusting the EQ on the track to try and eliminate as much of the bass on the track as possible. I almost never bother with doing that because I don't think it's that important when you mix your bass much louder than the track is. To get this out of here, we're going to go ahead and save it so that I've got it locked in. I like to drag the end of this back so that I don't end up with an awkward space at the end. Ooh, another thing that you should probably do is this space here before I started playing is just a little bit of noise and is not important to the track at all. So I'm just gonna bring that back this way until I get to where I'm starting to play. And so now I've got a really clean intro to my video. By the way, this computer is a 2012 MacBook. It is almost 10 years old. I can't believe that it still works. I need to upgrade urgently. So I like to do export song to disk. That'll give us the option for an AIFF, which is one of the higher quality file types that you can export. And I'm just actually gonna put this on the desktop, make it really easy for me to find. I don't mind the date and time on the title there, makes it easy to know which thing it is, and just hit export. While we're waiting for that, because I filmed the video on my iPhone, I can just go ahead and airdrop that to my computer. Apple makes this part of the process kind of easy. Since we're done with GarageBand, we'll quit out of there, and then we'll go into iMovie to edit the video. I haven't used iMovie in a little while. Back when I was doing a lot more with iMovie, it didn't quite have the precision that you needed to really line things up well, but iMovie now does a pretty good job. We'll do a create new movie. We're almost done with this, but in the meantime, we can do an import media, and we put that audio file on our desktop, so it should be easy to grab. We'll say import, and then our video file just finished, so we need to come into here, and that shows up in the downloads folder, and it should just be this one. Sure is. Import. Okay, so now we have our assets. We just need to line them up so that it syncs up with the audio. So we'll just grab these, drag them down the timeline. I think I had another take at the beginning of this, and then I restarted. Yep, right there. Command B, and that's gonna slice that video right there, delete the first part of that. iMovie doesn't let you just freely play stuff, so what we're going to do is get one of these backgrounds, and just a black one, and stick that at the beginning here, and then that'll allow us to push the track to where it needs to be. Also, this thing is being very, very jerky right now. Okay, so I'm close there. I can't get much more precise than that because I'm also screen recording, which consumes a ton of resources. Seems like we're pretty close there. I'm going to turn off the screen recording and finesse it a little bit, but that's really all there is to it. All right, so my computer just was not having a good time trying to screen record and edit video, and it crashed. And so I did a couple of things just off by myself, where I trimmed the beginning and the end of it just to make it a little bit more precise. I did a tiny little bit of color correction, just like auto white balancing and a couple little things. And then I've come up to this top right corner and hit the share button and then export file, which brings me to this dialog box. This is the point where I'm going to give my file a name, and you'll also notice that I have an option for resolution here, and I'm actually just gonna leave all of these at the default. And you might be asking, Andrew, why did we record at 4K if we're just going to export it in 1080p? And the short answer is just because it's simpler. It honestly doesn't look that much different. I doubt anyone can even tell that you're uploading in 4K anyway. The 4K capture on the camera makes a big difference, but otherwise, on YouTube, it compresses it in such a way that it doesn't matter. Also, look who decided to join us, little Taco. He woke up from his nap. Anyway, so we'll hit next here, and then we'll save this one to the desktop as well. And bam, we're done. All you gotta do at this point is take that file, upload it to YouTube, and wait until no one ever watches it ever. Congratulations, you did it. Anyway, so that's my tutorial on how to make base YouTube covers with budget/free stuff. I hope that was helpful to you. Yeah, was that really helpful? Oh yeah, Taco is too tired to even think about anything. If you have any questions, please do leave a comment down below, like this video if it helped you out, and subscribe for more stuff. More bass stuff, primarily. Actually, it's 100% bass stuff. I can guarantee you that every single video that I will upload has something to do with bass. Promise. Scout's honor. I am A&P the bass player, and why does it keep doing that? I don't know. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.